one way.
What?
You want it to be one way.
Man, I don't
want
know
it to
what
be one
Man,
way.
stop. Stop saying that.
What is the other way?
Yeah. All right. Everybody take a seat. Let's get it. We back at it. What up to all the subscribers? You know, much love to you guys. Love the support, love the feedback as usual. If this is your first time catching this one of these episodes, I do invite you to please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit that bell icon so you can get all the plugs when I drop this content. We talking boxing today, and we gonna talk it like nobody else is talking it. The most unbiased, 100% keeping it 100 perspective. It's your boy Rain. So we had a crazy week this week, didn't we? Crazy weekend this week with the Devin Haney Regis Prograis fight. What a mastery class we saw Devin Haney put out there, just completely shutting out Regis Prograis. 12 rounds to zip by all three judges. It don't get no better than that. No complaints. I believe Regis did come out to, you know, try to represent, and he really wanted to win that match. But I think when the skills is out there for showcase, they're gonna pay the bills, man. And you know, one thing like Bernard Hopkins said, this thing called boxing will expose you. I believe there was some exposing going on Saturday night. Congratulations to Devin Haney. I have no complaints. If I were to say anything, if you want me to say anything that would have made it better outside of what he did, it'd have been nice to see him close the show. I do feel like there were openings there for him to close the show. And you know, I'm one of those firm believers. I'm an old school boxing fan where I believe if there's a close there, if there's an opportunity to close it, I feel like it's your responsibility to close the show. And I ain't gonna lie to you, I feel like Regis was just being completely outclassed. It looked like he shouldn't have been in the ring with Devin Haney, and nothing would have made that clearer, and nothing would have put a stamp on that like a stop. But look, doesn't take away from that mastery class we saw. Devin Haney put the whole 140-pound weight division on notice, let him know that I'm here and you guys really don't want no problems, and I have legitimate smoke with anybody who has a belt, who considers themselves a champion in this division. I'm that guy who's probably coming to take that belt off your waist. And I think that was said loud and clear. So once again, congratulations to the Devin Haney team. You guys put on a masterclass. So that being said, what's the next thing for Devin Haney at this point? Now, I already put a full video out before. You can catch my last video that I did where I explained, you know, I gave Devin Haney all his flowers and, you know, explained where I thought his strengths were and where the weaknesses of Regis were and what Regis is planning on doing supposedly at this point. And I'm not going to go into that right now. This is going to be the next chapter of the conversation, which is what is next for Devin Haney. Now that Devin Haney's made his presence felt and shown the world what he is and who he is, and the conversation that he should be placed in, what's the next step for Devin Haney? Well, some people are saying Devin Haney should stay at 140 pounds and clean out the division and become undisputed champion, challenge to the likes of Subriel Matias, Teofimo Lopez, Ryan Garcia, or Rolly Romero. Anybody who has a belt, they feel like Devin Haney should be legitimately aiming at those guys. I can't say I disagree with that. I could see that happening. But also the Haneys have expressed interest of moving forward to the 147-pound weight class division. From my understanding, not to stay permanently, but to, you know, get a little taste of that division. Maybe challenge a Keith Thurman or maybe a Mario Barrios. You know, a lot of options. One thing's for sure, two things for certain. Devin Haney has these options now. When you have a performance like the one we saw Saturday night, the world is your oyster. But I think the biggest conversation right now, believe it or not, even though all those options that we laid out on the table are great options for Devin Haney, Still, the ghost of 135 pounds still haunt the scene as people are still demanding to see Devin Haney go head up with Gervonta Tank Davis. Old business that has never been finished, never had some closure to it. Gervonta Tank Davis earlier this year expressed interest after he finished dealing with TMT. He expressed interest that he had a bucket list of fighters he wanted to fight before he retired from boxing, and Devin Haney was definitely at the top of that list. Excuse me. Shakur Stevens was also there. I believe Vasily Lomachenko was there as well. And you know, those are the three main fighters I do remember him saying. But I'll tell you one thing's for sure. At this point in Gervonta Tank Davis's career, his fights need to be signature fights, in my opinion. At this point, I want to see, and I can only speak from my perspective. I'm not going to speak for everybody else. Everybody, else can speak for themselves. But from my perspective, the eye test tells me that Gervonta Tank Davis is the goods. Generational talent. But until he is fighting generational talent in his era, meeting all these guys in a squared circle, I can't give him generational fighter. I can't say his legacy is cemented. And I feel that Gervonta feels the same way as well. Because at the end of the day, he wants to fight these guys for a reason. Not for no reason, but for a reason. If these are the guys that are supposed to be my counterparts, my peers in the era that I'm in, then these are the guys I need to make sure that I check off the list before I move on and move on to retiring and go into whatever the next chapter of my life is going to be. So how do these fights get made? How does a fight between Gervonta Tank Davis and Devin the Dream, the American Dream Haney, get set up? When you have a situation where Devin Haney's now at 140 pounds, and when you seen him at 140 pounds, you saw a healthy Devin Haney. I couldn't imagine that Devin Haney even entertaining, or I don't even know if he can do it, to go back to 135 pounds to challenge Tank Davis. I believe there was an opportunity for Tank Davis and Devin Haney to square away this deal years ago, and that opportunity wasn't capitalized on. It wasn't jumped on. So now that Devin Haney's moved on, there's no coming back. Gervonta Tank Davis has already had a fight at 140 pounds with Mario Barrios, and not only did he win that fight, but he stopped Mario Barrios with a body shot. So he's shown that he can compete on that level. But it's no secret that Gervonta Tank Davis has expressed that he's not very interested in going 140 pounds. That the fight he had with Mario Barrios was a fight that he had concerns going into it. He didn't want to get hit with anything or clipped with anything crazy. He's pretty much owned the fact that weight class was a big weight class for him. But at the end of the day, if Devin Haney and Tank Davis are to meet, if they are to fight, where will the fight happen? There are rumors going out there of potentially a catchweight at maybe 138. I don't even think Devin would do that. To be honest with you, at this point, I don't think Devin needs to fight Gervonta Tank Davis. I think there's been some leverage. I think some leverage has been lost in this fight that he had with Regis Prograis. Seeing him perform that way, all the fights that I just mentioned to you that he can do, becoming a 2-weight class undisputed champion, becoming a 3-weight division champion, possibly maybe unifying a belt or two at 147 pounds. He has many of things to accomplish that will cement his legacy and get him into the Hall of Fame and have his name brought up in the same conversation with the greats, right? Gervonta Tank Davis, as far as Devin Haney is concerned, doesn't have that much leverage at this point, from my opinion. Maybe, he can focus his energy more on what he has right now at 135 pounds. I'd also say that the guys at 135 pounds can go up to 140. They're not, Gervonta's a small guy, 5'4", 5'5", somewhere in that range. His options to go up aren't as clear as, let's say, Shakur Stevens, or like you've seen Teofimo going up there. Lomachenko will probably stay there. That's a fight that probably will happen, but Lomachenko's also getting up in age. He's got issues as far as dealing with the war going on in his home country of Ukraine. He's fought in that war, and supposedly, I don't see that ending anytime soon. I don't see Russia and Ukraine looking like they're about to come to some sort of truce anytime soon. So he's got a lot on his mind. This is definitely not the same Lomachenko that we saw maybe 4 or 5 years ago. This is a different Lomachenko. So, where does, if Tank doesn't fight Devin, where does Tank go to find his legacy? This from a fighter who doesn't respect belts, right? He doesn't want championship belts. He doesn't feel like he needs them. But one thing about belts is it's a checks and balances game when we fight for belts. That's one thing that belts do for the game of boxing, right? For boxing, what belts do is it makes sure that the best fight the best. It ensures that. So if Tank Davis was going for belts, there was no way he would have avoided an opportunity to cement his legacy to fight a Devin Haney or Shakur Stevens or Lomachenko. He'd always be in that conversation, because when you're dealing with the belts, you're dealing with the best fighting the best. And the path he took was a path of currency over legacy, which I can respect that. You work hard to get your family out of poverty and out of these challenging situations that they may have been in prior to you jumping into boxing. That becomes a priority. I understand that. But I also believe at the same time that, legacy is an important part of your career. You go through all this, you're getting punched in your head, you're punching people in the head, you're putting your life on the line, and you walk away from a game like this. I'd like to think that you left and cemented some sort of legacy that you left for people to talk about in the right way, not what could have been, but what actually happened. So we'll see how that all pans out, but I'll tell you this. I believe I'm hearing rumors that he'll be kicking off the new pay-per-view, the relationship now. If you guys don't know, that's because you have been watching my videos, or you have been watching boxing news, that now PBC's actually cemented a deal with Amazon Prime, and that Amazon Prime will be hosting their fights. I believe about 6 regular championship fights and about 6 or somewhat pay-per-view fights next year. So supposedly Gervonta Tank Davis is supposed to be kicking it off in March with Amazon Prime's first pay-per-view event. I'm pretty sure, being that he's been out of the game for a little over a year, or going to about over a year, being that he was dealing with his legal issues. He hasn't fought. His last fight he had was with Hector Garcia. Hector Garcia has fought since then, fought another fight, lost his belt against Lamont Roach, and he's still inactive. So I'm sure the first fight won't be against one of these generational talents. It looks like it's probably going to be against the likes of an Isaac Cruz. They have old unfinished business, being that Isaac was the only person to really take Gervonta to that decision the way he did. We all know though that Gervonta had a broken hand in that match, so he really fought Isaac Cruz with one hand. So I'm assuming he comes into this match with 2 hands, that he will probably make some short work of Isaac Cruz. But until he wins it, it's not one, right? But after that fight, I think from my perspective, he needs to fight signature fights. At this point, it's time for Gervonta to fight the fights that the fans want to see him fight. He's no longer under the management of Floyd Mayweather and the TNT crew, Leonard Ellaby and those guys. He still has a relationship with PBC, but he has more of a say in his career now. His career is in his hands. So if these fights aren't happening and these fighters are calling him out, at this point, it's safe to say that Gervonta Tank Davis is the one blocking these fights from happening. So, and I can't imagine this guy being scared of anybody. I'll be honest with you, any fighter at this level, at this point in time, being scared of people, I don't think we can't hang our hat on that. 9 out of 10 times, 10 out of 10 times, it's politics, it's business, it's money, and these are the things that are being played. Politics shouldn't be a big issue with this one, being that Tank runs his own company now. He runs his own plays. It's GTD Promotions, which is his promotional company. And obviously Devin Haney and his father have made relationships with all these promotional platforms, and they're able to fight anywhere. So their hands aren't tied at all. So, this fight can be made if they want it to be made. Where should it happen? My opinion doesn't matter or hold that much weight, but I do believe it should happen wherever both fighters can be healthy at. Right? So if Gervonta can be healthy at 140, which from the past he's shown that he can be, and Devin Haney can't be healthy at 135, then 135 can't be the weight class. 140 seems like it would be the fair weight class at this point to make it happen. Maybe you guys can put some kind of extensions or add certain requirements on, I don't know, maybe a rehydration clause on Devin Haney possibly, if maybe not to gain more than 10 pounds from the 140-pound mark. I'm sure that could be on the table. All kinds of things. Compensation obviously has to follow up accordingly as well. But at the end of the day, whatever it takes for you guys to figure it out, when it's all said and done, Devin Haney and Gervonta Tank Davis should be fighting at some point before Devin Haney moves up to 147 pounds and really just makes this something that's never going to happen. But outside of that, let's say Tank never fights Devin Haney, then we'll deal with that. But Lomachenko's still there. Teofimo Lopez is probably still a legitimate option. Shakur Stevens is definitely an option. He's a WBC champion in Gervonta Tank Davis's weight class. The only thing that may get in the way of that happening is the relationship between Top Rank with Bob Arum, where Shakur Stevens is right now presently, and as far as Al Heyman, PBC, and Gervonta Tank Davis's relationship is concerned, there is a little bit of politics there for Shakur and Gervonta to meet. But once again, that's another thing that we have to go into this year taking care of, because this whole entire politics where one promoter doesn't deal with another promoter so the fighters can't get together, that right there is getting kind of played out. And that's why when you look at companies and promotional platforms like in Saudi Arabia right now, where they're dealing with these fighters directly, and they're making deals to where promotional companies are having to come together because the money is just so large that they really have no option. But this is the future of boxing, really. This is going to become the future of boxing, where I believe promoters are going to get minimalized in their roles in coordinating these fights. The fighters are the boss. These are the fighters' careers. It's their lives on the line. It's their legacy on the line. The fighters should have a say. And as these things develop, I can't see it not going that way. With all these streaming companies, there's no more. It's becoming less of a monopoly game, right? It's becoming less monopolized than it used to be. There's not only one or two places where these fights can happen. And as far as money's concerned, Saudi Arabia's pockets have no bottom. So we'll see how that turns out. But these fights need to happen. This is strap season. 2024, in my opinion, will be the year of legacy. Legacy over everything. The fights that need to be made will be made. I believe that we'll hopefully see Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder squared away. Hopefully we'll see Canelo Alvarez and David Benavidez squared away. Or we'll see Canelo be stripped or vacate the titles that he has so that the division can move forward and we can begin to having undisputed champions who are actively defending and fighting their mandatories and giving us fighters what we want to see, but we'll see what happens. I won't stay long. I've already been here long enough. But listen, guys, go ahead in the comments, let me know where and what should Devin Haney's next move be. And does Gervonta Tank Davis and Devin Haney need to fight? And what is Gervonta Tank Davis's next move? What does his move need to be? Are you guys okay with him fighting fighters that aren't generational talents like himself? Or are you guys ready to see him meet the challenge? Are you ready to see Gervonta Tank Davis fight his peers, fighters who we want to see him fight? Are we ready to see him fight those fights, or are we okay with where he's at? Let me know in the comments. Also, like, comment, subscribe. Once again, like I said in the beginning of the video, if it's your first time seeing this and the content means anything to you, feel free to please go ahead, hit subscribe, hit that that bell icon so that you'll put on alert whenever I put these videos out. But on that note, I appreciate you guys. It's your boy Claymore Rain. This is ATP Combat Media, and at this point, we out.
They hate when you elevate. The second of losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly.